Commander Xylar's scaled claws clicked impatiently against the cold metal table. For the fifth time he watched the video, his yellow eyes unblinking as thermal images flickered across the screen. The footage showed his elite Vraxian warriors, genetically engineered for combat, vanishing one by one. "Play it again," Xylar ordered, his voice a rough grind like stones. Lieutenant Thrax shifted uncomfortably. "Commander, we've reviewed it countless times." Xylar slammed his fist down. The video restarted. 12 of his finest moved through Nairo 6's dense jungle, weapons ready, hunting. Then, an anomaly. One by one, their heat signatures winked out. The human figures were barely visible, just blurs of motion, too fast for the camera to fully register. Xylar paused on the clearest frame. A human soldier, minuscule compared to a Vraxian, effortlessly lifting one of his warriors with a blade to the throat. "How?" he whispered, his voice laced with disbelief. "How did creatures so small eliminate our best?" "They hail from Earth," Thrax stated quietly, a note of unease in his tone. "A Deathworld." Xylar knew of Deathworlds, planets forged in extreme gravity, lashed by deadly weather, teeming with dangerous predators, planets that bred resilient species. But humans were recent spacefarers, barely 50 cycles ago confined to their home system. Now they were here, dissecting his warriors with chilling efficiency. The door hissed open. Lord Obsidian, the Helix Consortium's representative, glided in, a tall, thin figure in expensive, flowing garments. His true species remained unknown. The Consortium guarded its secrets well. "Commander Xylar," Lord Obsidian's voice, like a machine's hum, cut through the tense air. "I trust you've analyzed the unfortunate incident on Nairo 6. Xylar's mouth formed a tight line. "My warriors were the finest in 3 sectors. Whatever these humans are, they are far more dangerous than you implied." Lord Obsidian placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram displaying several planets. "The Consortium has vital mining operations on these worlds. All are now claimed by humans under their new protection treaties. We are incurring substantial losses daily." "Find another mercenary group," Xylar growled. "These humans decimated my best. I will not squander more." Lord Obsidian's thin lips curved into a semblance of a smile. "We are prepared to triple your standard remuneration." Xylar's ears twitched forward. That was a staggering sum, enough to acquire a small moon. "And," Lord Obsidian continued, "we will provide new weapon technologies, ensuring your decisive advantage." Xylar glanced back at the frozen image of the human soldier. Something about these creatures unsettled him. Their movements were unnatural, their combat style alien. They were unlike any species he had encountered. "I want every shred of intelligence you possess on human special forces, every single detail." Lord Obsidian nodded. "Of course, these creatures must be dealt with permanently." After the Consortium representative departed, Xylar replayed the thermal footage. The human soldiers moved through absolute darkness without night vision implants. They coordinated assaults without a single spoken word. They anticipated Xylar's warriors' movements before they happened. "What makes you so deadly?" he asked the empty room, watching the silent, efficient killings on the screen. For the first time in his long, brutal career as a mercenary, Xylar felt something new stirring in his hardened chest. It was fear.
Special Agent Kira Nightshade Vaskov wiped sweat from her brow as she entered the briefing room at Outpost Sigma. Hidden deep within Moon orbiting the gas giant Themis, the military base was always cold. Still, her body radiated heat from the combat simulation. 5 other soldiers followed her in. Echo Squad, the elite special forces team of the United Earth Defense Force. They had returned from Nyra 6 just 2 days prior. 12 alien mercenaries neutralized, 0 human casualties. "At ease," Admiral Amara Vance commanded from the head of the table. Her stern face showed no emotion, but the slight nod acknowledged their success. "Excellent work on Nyra 6. Kira took her seat. "Thank you, ma'am. The Vraxians were tough but predictable." Around the table sat her team. Gian Goliath Lee, his massive arms crossed over his chest. Anya Phantom Sato, so quiet you could forget she was there until she moved. Zane Cypher Khan, fingers tapping at a datapad. Lena Medic Volkov, meticulously checking medical supplies in her kit. And Elias Orator Thorne, already engrossed in alien linguistic patterns on his screen. Unlike the mercenaries they fought, Echo Squad had no genetic enhancements, no cybernetic implants, only relentless training, seamless teamwork, and the inherent advantages of evolving on Earth, a world that had strived to kill humanity for millions of years. "The Helix Consortium is incensed," Admiral Amara Vance said, activating the room's hologram projector. It displayed several planets with mining operations. "They've lost 4 facilities to our protection treaties. Now they're deploying more mercenaries." The hologram shifted, showing different alien species. The insectoid Shiktari, with their 4 arms and natural venom. The colossal Gorlok, with their thick, armored skin. And more Vraxians with their predatory eyes. "Intelligence suggests they're planning something significant," Admiral Vance continued. "We require irrefutable proof of their illegal operations to present before the Galactic Confederation." Kira studied the aliens displayed. Each species had evolved deadly natural weapons. The Shiktari could detect the slightest movement from 20 meters. The Gorlok could withstand direct energy weapon hits. But none of them had Earth's crushing gravity. None had grown up with Earth's apex predators, its devastating diseases, or its volatile weather. None had been forced to adapt like humanity. "Your mission," Admiral Vance announced, "is to infiltrate this facility." The hologram zoomed into a massive structure carved into an ice mountain on the planet Glacius. Gravity 1.5 times Earth normal. Average temperature -60 degrees Celsius. Gian whistled. Sounds like Minnesota in January. A few chuckles rippled through the team, easing the tension. "Conditions that would extinguish most species," Admiral Vance stated, "but not you. Get in, acquire evidence of the consortium's treaty violations, and extract." After the briefing, Kira gathered her team in their prep room. Equipment and weapons lined the walls, all human-made, simple, yet remarkably effective. "They believe they're superior," Kira told her squad as they began selecting gear. "The Vraxians, the Shiktari, all of them. They've evolved specialized killing abilities, but that's their inherent weakness." "Specialization versus adaptation?" Elias remarked, checking his translator. Kira nodded. "Precisely. They're built to be perfect in their native environments." She picked up a combat knife, testing its edge. "But humans, We're built to survive anywhere. Anya, already checking her whisper wraith gear, spoke quietly. They've never faced predators like us. No, Kira agreed, looking at her team, the best Earth had to offer. Across the galaxy, Commander Xylar amassed his forces, promising them technology and immense wealth to hunt these primitives. He didn't yet realize what he was truly hunting. This time, he was the prey.
For 3 days, Echo Squad trained relentlessly in the simulation room. The computer created a perfect replica of Glacius's environment. Crushing gravity, bitter cold, and howling winds that could freeze exposed skin in seconds. Again, Kira ordered after their 5th run through the mock mining facility. Sweat soaked their thermal gear despite the simulated cold. Faster this time. Jean adjusted the massive weapon on his back. On Glacius, it would weigh nearly twice as much, but years of training on Earth had prepared his body for far worse. Thinking about our friends out there? Anya asked, nodding toward the stars visible through the station's viewport. Kira checked her rifle. I'm thinking they're preparing, just like we are. Across the galaxy, Commander Xylar stood in the command center of the abandoned mining complex Alpha 9 on Glacius. The facility, carved into a mountain of ice, would be their killing ground. The sensors are placed here, here, and here, he instructed his assembled forces, pointing at a hologram of the complex. When the humans trigger them, the Shiktari will attack from these ventilation shafts. The insectoid mercenaries clicked their mandibles in agreement. 12 feet tall, with natural poison sacs and 4 arms, each capable of moving faster than most species could perceive, they were perfect hunters. The Gorlock will be our second wave, Xylar continued, gesturing to the massive rhinoceros-like aliens. Their gray skin can withstand direct hits from most weapons, and their gravity hammers can crush bones with a glancing blow. Lieutenant Thrax approached Xylar after the briefing. Commander, the humans have never failed a mission. What makes you so certain they'll walk into our trap? Xylar's eyes narrowed. Because I understand how predators think. They are successful, confident. They will come straight for us. The drop pod containing Echo Squad plummeted through Glacius's upper atmosphere, its heat shield glowing orange against the planet's eternal night. Inside, 6 humans checked their gear one last time. Energy readings ahead, Zane announced, studying his scanner. They're waiting for us. Kira smiled. Just as we expected. Changing landing coordinates, Lena adjusted the pod's trajectory. New drop point is 30 kilometers south of the facility. The pod landed with a bone-jarring thud on Glacius's frozen surface. The door hissed open, and brutal cold rushed in. Cold that would kill most species in minutes. For humans from Earth, it was just another challenge. Move out, Kira ordered. They tracked across the frozen wasteland, each carrying gear that would cripple even enhanced alien soldiers. The crushing gravity made every step arduous, but their bodies, evolved on Earth with its punishing gravity, adapted quickly. Approaching sensor perimeter, Zane announced, his equipment detecting the network of alarms Xylar had placed around the facility. Kira gathered her team. Remember the plan. Make it look good. Making it look good is my specialty, Jean grinned. Echo Squad split up. Instead of avoiding the sensors, they deliberately triggered specific ones, making their approach seem clumsy and desperate. In his command center, Xylar watched as alarms lit up his display. Human heat signatures appeared exactly where he expected them. Predictable, he said, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Send in the Shiktari. Clean up these primitives quickly. The insectoid assassins moved silently through the facility's tunnels, eager for an easy kill. Hidden in the shadows, Echo Squad waited. Kira whispered into her comm unit. They think we're the trapped ones. Time to show them why you don't corner a species that evolved as both predator and prey. The Shiktari assassins entered the large storage chamber where the human heat signatures had been detected. Their compound eyes scanned the room, capable of discerning the slightest movement. Each stood 12 feet tall, with an armored exoskeleton and natural poison sacs that could incapacitate most species in seconds. "See anything?" the lead Shiktari clicked to his team. In response, he heard only silence. The assassin turned and found himself alone. His team had vanished silently into the shadows of the chamber. Impossible. Nothing could take down a Shiktari without making noise. Nothing. A small device landed at his feet. Before he could react, it emitted a high-pitched sound that sent agonizing pain shooting through his compound eyes. The Shiktari staggered, suddenly blind. Special Agent Kira, Nightshade Vaskov, stepped from the shadows, moving with quiet precision. Phantom flare worked perfectly. Precisely the right frequency to overload their visual systems. Throughout the chamber, Echo Squad emerged from hiding places that the Shiktari had looked straight at but failed to perceive. Not because the humans possessed special camouflage abilities, but because they understood something fundamental about vision. Even the most advanced eyes could be tricked by the right shadows and stillness. "Status," Kira ordered. "All targets neutralized," Anya replied, appearing beside a fallen Shiktari. "Non-lethal takedowns, as ordered." The squad secured the unconscious aliens with reinforced restraints. Unlike most species, humans had evolved as both hunters and prey. They understood both sides of the chase. "Zane, get what we came for," Kira ordered. "Jean, Lena, prepare our welcome for the next group." Zane connected his equipment to a computer terminal. "Accessing their data now, looking for evidence of illegal operations." "Hurry," Elias warned, monitoring communications. "Xylar has lost contact with the assassin team. He's sending in the Gorlock." In his command center, Xylar stared at the screens in disbelief. All contact with the Shiktari had been lost simultaneously. No distress calls, no signs of struggle, just silence. "Impossible," he hissed. "The Shiktari are the best hunters in the sector." "Apparently not," Thrax said quietly. Xylar slammed his fist down. "Send in the Gorlock, all of them."
Zane worked quickly at the terminal, downloading files. "Commander, you need to see this," he called to Kira. "They're not just mining here. They found something." Kira looked at the screen. It showed excavation of an ancient structure deep beneath the ice. "Precursor technology," she whispered. "That's against Confederation treaties." "This explains the heavy security," Elias said. "If the Confederation knew they were harvesting precursor tech—" A distant rumbling interrupted him. The Gorlock were coming. Massive, rhinoceros-like aliens carrying gravity hammers that could shatter bones with a single blow. Jan grinned as he and Lena finished setting up their trap, ready to show these aliens why humans were the apex predators. "Not predators," Kira corrected, checking her weapon. "Survivors. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. These aliens are just the latest to underestimate what that means." The first Gorlock appeared at the far end of the corridor, its massive form nearly filling the passageway. It roared a challenge, expecting the humans to flee in terror. Instead, Echo Squad stood their ground. Kira switched to tactical frequencies. "Execute Abyss Jaws," she ordered calmly. "Let's teach them about Deathworld physics." The Gorlock charged forward, unaware it was running straight into a lesson about mechanics and biology, basic principles that seemed obvious to humans, but alien to species with different evolutionary paths, a lesson it would not soon forget. The first Gorlock charged down the corridor, its massive body shaking the floor. Behind it came 5 more, each carrying gravity hammers that could crush steel. "Now," Kira ordered. "Giant, pull the lever."
The floor beneath the lead Gorlock suddenly tilted downward. The alien's immense momentum carried it forward, unable to stop its charge. As it stumbled, Lena activated the second part of the trap. From hidden vents, a fine mist sprayed into the air. The chemical compound, harmless to humans, targeted the Gorlock's sensitive respiratory systems, creating a suffocating effect. The lead alien crashed to the floor, sliding toward a waiting net of reinforced cables. The cables, attached to mining equipment with mechanical advantage pulleys, tightened around the massive creature as it struggled to breathe through the mist. "Simple physics," Giant said with a grin. "Mass times acceleration equals a very big problem for them." The other Gorlock bellowed in rage, but already the mist was affecting them too. They swung their gravity hammers wildly, hitting walls and each other in confusion. "Pull back," Kira ordered. "Move to position 2. Echo Squad retreated deeper into the facility, leading the remaining Gorlock through a series of traps that used the alien's size and strength against them. In his command center, Xylar watched in growing horror as the Gorlock fell one by one, not to superior firepower or technology, but to simple traps any child could understand. "How?" he snarled. "How are they defeating our best warriors with such primitive methods?" Thrax studied the security feeds. "They understand mechanics and biology better than we expected. They're using our strengths against us." Xylar slammed his fist on the console. "Enough! Activate the facility defenses. Seal the sections. Separate them." Throughout the complex, energy shields suddenly activated, cutting off corridors and rooms from each other. Alarm sirens wailed. Kira found herself trapped with Elias in a storage area, cut off from the rest of the team. "Zane, report?" she called into her comm. Static answered her. The shields were blocking communications. "What now?" Elias asked, checking his weapon. Kira pointed to a ventilation shaft above them. "We adapt, like we always do." Across the facility, the rest of Echo Squad faced the same problem. Trapped and alone, each soldier continued the mission without hesitation or confusion. Where other species might panic when cut off from their command, humans had evolved to function independently. Zane, isolated in a control room, hacked into the facility systems. His fingers flew across the alien keyboard, intuitively understanding patterns that would take most species hours to process. "Found you," he whispered, as he discovered a way to overload the energy shields. Xylar noticed the attempt immediately. "The human is trying to hack our systems," he told his remaining guards. "Reroute power to Sector 7. Cause a cascade failure there."
The command triggered explosions throughout the lower levels of the facility. Fire and debris-filled corridors. Support beams collapsed. Pressure differences created winds strong enough to tear metal. Xylar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Nothing could survive that. His smile faded as Thrax pointed to a security feed. Through smoke and flame, a human figure walked calmly, unfazed by conditions that would kill most species instantly. "Commander," Thrax said quietly, "these aren't ordinary beings. They come from a world where fire, collapse, and extreme pressure are normal. They train for this." For the first time in his long career, Xylar felt something he had never experienced before: doubt about victory. His communication device beeped. The consortium director appeared on screen, face hidden in shadow. "Forget the intelligence," the director ordered. "We have a new priority. Capture one of them alive." The shadowed figure leaned forward. "Their adaptability is the key. We need to understand how they think." The facility had become a death trap. Corridors collapsed, fires raged, and toxic gases leaked from damaged pipes. The temperature swung wildly between freezing cold and burning heat. For most species, these conditions would mean certain death. For Echo Squad, it was just another challenge. Kira and Elias crawled through a maintenance duct half filled with ice water. The freezing liquid would cause hypothermia in minutes for most aliens, but humans from Earth, who had swam in Arctic waters and survived blizzards, could endure. "Almost there," Kira said, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. "The schematics show a junction ahead that will lead us to the central level." Meanwhile, Gion used his brute force to force open a jammed door, creating a path through a section with failing life support. Anya scaled an elevator shaft using improvised climbing tools, moving silently despite the heavy gravity. Lena navigated through areas filled with Glacius's toxic atmosphere, her Earth-evolved lungs capable of filtering poisonous gases better than any alien species. Zane continued working on the facility's systems. "I found a way to communicate despite the shields," he said into his newly modified comm unit. "Commander, can you hear me?" "Loud and clear," Kira's voice came back. "Status report." Each team member checked in. All were alive and adapting to the changing environment. "New mission parameters," Kira ordered. "We need to capture Xylar alive. He knows too much about the precursor technology." In his command center, Xylar felt the situation slipping from his control. The humans were not only surviving, but advancing through the facility. "Fall back to the hangar bay," he ordered his remaining forces. "Prepare my ship for immediate departure." Thrax looked concerned. "Commander, what about the consortium's orders to capture a human?" Xylar's eyes narrowed. "The consortium doesn't comprehend what we're facing. These aren't just soldiers, there's something else." He grabbed a secure data device containing information about the precursor technology. "This is too valuable to lose." As the mercenaries retreated to the hangar bay, something shifted. Now they were the ones being hunted, feeling the psychological pressure of being stalked by predators they couldn't predict. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, human voices that seemed to come from all directions at once. Shadows moved at the edge of vision. Equipment malfunctioned in ways that made no sense. "What's happening?" a Vraxian guard asked, his voice shaking. "Psychological warfare," Xylar replied grimly. "They're in our heads now." The remaining elite guards, genetically designed to feel no fear, experienced it for the first time. Every unusual sound made them jump. Every shadow looked like a human about to attack. Xylar reached the hangar bay with his guards and the precious data. His ship waited, offering escape from this nightmare. But as they approached the vessel, all lights in the hangar bay suddenly went out. In the utter darkness, a human voice spoke, seemingly from everywhere at once. "Going somewhere, Commander?" Xylar fired his weapon wildly into the darkness. His guards did the same, shooting at shadows. When the lights flickered back on seconds later, 3 of his guards lay unconscious on the floor. Of the humans, there was no sign. Xylar looked at the precursor data device in his hand. Perhaps there was another option, another way to deal with these Deathworlders once and for all. "Get to the ship," he ordered his remaining guards, "and bring the precursor artifact from storage. If we can't escape them, perhaps we can use it against them." Little did he know, Echo Squad was already waiting inside the ship, watching his every move. The hangar bay fell silent as Commander Xylar and his remaining guards stood around the precursor device. The artifact was a metallic sphere, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "Activate it," Xylar ordered, desperation in his voice. "It's our only chance against these humans." A guard pressed several symbols on the device. The sphere hummed to life, glowing with a soft blue light. "Step away from the device," a calm voice said in perfect Vraxianan, including cultural nuances that translation software typically missed.
Xylar spun around. A human male, Elias Orator Thorn, stood at the entrance to the hangar bay, alone and seemingly unarmed. "Surrender now," Elias continued in his language, "and no one else needs to get hurt." Xylar laughed, a harsh clicking sound. "One human against 4 of us, and you demand our surrender?" "I'm trying to help you," Elias replied. "That device isn't what you think it is." As he spoke, Xylar noticed how Elias maintained eye contact, an impressive feat as most species found Vraxianan eyes disturbing. Elias also used formal combat posture language, the subtle body positioning that Vraxianans used to show respect to worthy opponents. "How do you know our ways?" Xylar asked, genuinely curious despite the danger. "We study those we might meet," Elias explained. "Not just your biology, but your culture, your history. We want to understand." While Elias kept Xylar talking, the rest of Echo Squad moved silently into position. Zane crept toward the glowing device, studying its patterns. Kira and the others surrounded the remaining guards, unseen in the shadows. "The Consortium fears humanity's expansion," Xylar said, lowering his weapon slightly. "Your kind adapts too quickly, learns too fast. You remind the elder species of their own aggressive early evolution, but accelerated." "We don't want war," Elias replied. "We just want to prevent weapons of mass destruction from being used, like that device you're trying to activate." Zane, now close enough to see the artifact clearly, whispered into his comm. "It's not a weapon. The symbols are a language matrix. I think it's a communication device." Before Xylar could respond, the hangar doors burst open. Consortium combat drones flew in, weapons ready. "Eliminate all witnesses," a mechanical voice announced. "No survivors. Repeat, no survivors." Xylar realized instantly that the Consortium had betrayed him. He was now a liability who knew too much. Laser fire erupted across the hangar. Kira shouted, "Cover!" In the chaos that followed, Echo Squad and Xylar's forces found themselves fighting the same enemy. The humans demonstrated tactical flexibility that astonished the alien mercenaries. They changed formation and strategy moment by moment without speaking, adapting instantly to the drone's attack patterns. A drone targeted Xylar, its weapon charging. Kira appeared from nowhere, shoving the mercenary commander aside. The blast grazed for shoulder instead of killing him. "Why?" he asked as they took cover behind a cargo container. "Why save me?" Kira grimaced through the pain. "Because understanding beats extermination, and we want to understand you." For the first time, Xylar saw humans not as prey or predators, but something new, something that could choose to save an enemy, even at personal cost. The precursor device pulsed brighter as the battle raged around it. Zane realized what it was truly meant for, and how it might save them all. "Get to the ship," Kira ordered, as drone fire filled the hangar. "Zane, bring the device." Xylar watched in amazement as the human team moved with perfect coordination under fire. They created opportunities for each other without speaking, anticipating needs before they arose. "This way," he said, leading them toward his vessel. "It's our only chance." Inside the ship, John took control of the weapons systems, while Lena treated Kira's wound. Xylar and Thrax prepared for launch as more Consortium drones poured into the hangar. "Engines online," Xylar announced, "but they've locked down the hangar doors." Anya smiled slightly. "I can fix that." Her hands flew across the alien controls, bypassing security systems with surprising ease. The massive hangar doors began to open. As the ship lifted off, Zane studied the precursor device, now glowing brightly on the command deck table. "It's a universal translator," he explained, "but more advanced than anything we've seen. It doesn't just translate words, it translates concepts, feelings, contexts." Elias carefully touched the symbols. Can we use it to expose the consortium's actions better? We can. We can use it to make them understand us. The ship broke through Glacius's atmosphere, but 3 consortium vessels appeared on their sensors. Weapons charged. We're cornered, Thrax said grimly. Xylar looked at Kira. Your people fly like you fight. She nodded. John, take the controls. The heavy weapons specialist grinned as he settled into the pilot seat. Time to show them how we fly on a Deathworld.
What followed stunned even Xylar. Gion flew maneuvers no proper combat pilot would attempt, using gravity wells for sudden turns, skimming atmosphere layers to create sensor shadows, and at one point, deliberately allowing a glancing hit to spin the ship in a way that confused targeting systems. "That's impossible," Thrax whispered as they evaded yet another barrage. "That's human," Kara replied simply. Zane had connected the precursor device to the ship's communication array, ready to broadcast, he announced. The device pulsed with energy as they transmitted evidence of the consortium's illegal operations and attempted genocide. But it did more than send data. It sent understanding. Anyone receiving the transmission experienced the events as if they had been there themselves. "Confederation ships approaching," Elias called out. "They're responding to our broadcast." The consortium vessels retreated rather than engage with official forces. For now, they were safe. In the following days, a formal hearing was held at Confederation headquarters. Xylar stood beside Echo Squad as they presented their evidence. The precursor communication device proved vital, breaking down barriers between species. The Confederation voted to investigate the consortium and restrict their operations in human space. Later, as Echo Squad prepared to return to Earth, Xylar approached Kira. "I've declined asylum," he said. "I'll face the consequences of my actions, but I must know one thing." Kira waited silently. "Why does your kind not dominate the galaxy? With your adaptability, your endurance, your capacity for both violence and cooperation, you could conquer rather than negotiate." Kira looked at the stars visible through the station viewport. "Because we've learned something on our Deathworld that maybe your people haven't yet. Surviving isn't the same as living. We want to explore the galaxy, not rule it." As Xylar watched Echo Squad depart, reports trickled in from across Confederation space. Mercenary companies were refusing contracts targeting humans, citing unacceptable risk factors. The legend of the Deathworlders had begun to spread, not just as warriors to be feared, but as a species that could turn enemies into allies through understanding. And perhaps that was their most dangerous ability of all.